The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was a place of order, a sanctuary of reason amidst the vast chaos of the universe. Seated in concentric circles, representatives of hundreds of sapient species gathered, their forms as varied as the worlds they hailed from. In the center, a holographic display shimmered with data, the latest reports from across the galaxy filtering through. High Chancellor THRYNN, a venerable Xylarian with an iridescent carapace, presided over the meeting. His antennae twitched in irritation as he reviewed the agenda. The Council was accustomed to dealing with planetary disputes, trade agreements, and the occasional quarantine of a dangerous world. Rarely did anything genuinely alarming arise. Next item. THRNN's voice buzzed through the chamber. A report from the Terran delegation regarding a newly classified threat. Ambassador Clara, you may proceed. The Terran ambassador, Clara Marlowe, stepped forward, her human figure a stark contrast to the more exotic forms around her. Her expression was grave, her usually calm demeanor replaced with a tension that caught the attention of those present. She activated the holographic display, and an image of a small, stocky creature appeared, a creature that seemed wholly unimpressive. "This," she began, "is the subject of our concern. It is known as the honey badger, a species native to Earth." A murmur of confusion rippled through the assembly. Many expected a monstrous predator or a plague-inducing microorganism, not this unassuming beast. "Ambassador," interjected Counselor Hedrak, a towering amphibian from the water world of Tliera, "surely there must be some mistake. This animal, it appears harmless, almost comical." Clara met his gaze, unflinching. "I assure you, Counselor, there is no mistake. The honey badger may be small, but it is one of the most dangerous creatures on Earth. Its size belies its ferocity, its instincts." She gestured, and the hologram shifted to a series of video clips. The first showed a honey badger attacking a much larger predator, a lion. The lion roared, attempting to fend off the relentless assault, but the badger continued its attack with an almost mechanical persistence. Another clip depicted the creature tearing into a hive of bees, completely unfazed by the hundreds of stings covering its body. The final clip showed the honey badger facing a human, who, despite wielding a machete, struggled to repel the creature. The council watched in stunned silence. What was this creature that ignored pain, that defied logic? It wasn't just a predator. It was a force of nature, a being that lived by its own rules. "The honey badger," Clara continued, "is an omnivore, but it prefers meat. It is not an apex predator, yet it fears nothing. It will attack anything, from venomous snakes to much larger mammals, and it does so with an aggression that is unmatched. Its skin is tough, loose enough to allow it to twist and fight even when caught. It is highly intelligent, known to use tools, and it is nearly impossible to kill without advanced weaponry." THRYNN leaned forward, his normally composed demeanor showing cracks of concern. "And what does this mean for the galaxy, Ambassador? What is the relevance of this Earth creature to our proceedings?" Clara paused, letting the weight of her next words sink in. "The relevance, Chancellor, is that this creature poses a potential threat beyond Earth. Should a honey badger ever escape its native environment and be introduced to a planet unprepared for its presence, the consequences could be catastrophic. Ecosystems could collapse, native species driven to extinction by a creature that knows no fear and no restraint." The council chamber fell into a heavy silence. The implications were clear. The galaxy was filled with worlds where life had evolved without such relentless predators, where creatures had never encountered an adversary like the honey badger. A single specimen could wreak havoc on an unsuspecting world, turning it into a wasteland. Counselor Vrak, a reptilian being from the arid planet of Circuth, broke the silence. "You suggest, then, that we treat this creature as a Class 11P threat? That we quarantine any human vessel leaving Earth to ensure none of these badgers escape?" Clara nodded. "Yes, Counselor. We must prevent any possibility of their introduction to other worlds. The honey badger is not just a danger. It is a potential apocalyptic predator. and it is our responsibility to ensure that the galaxy is protected from such a threat. THRYNN sat back, the weight of the decision clear on his face. Very well, Ambassador. The Council will consider your recommendation. But let it be known that if this creature is as dangerous as you say, then we may have no choice but to enact the most stringent measures. Clara inclined her head in acknowledgement. Thank you, Chancellor. I hope you will understand the gravity of this situation. We must not underestimate the threat that even the smallest of Earth's creatures can pose. With that, the session moved on to other matters, but the image of the honey badger lingered in the minds of all present. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers alike. But today, they had been reminded that sometimes the greatest threats came in the smallest packages. As the council members dispersed, one thought remained with them. What other terrors lurked on that seemingly unassuming blue planet, waiting for their chance to escape into the stars? Xylar Prime was a world of gentle beauty, a serene jewel in the galaxy's tapestry. The Xylarians, the planet's indigenous species, were a small insectoid people, known for their delicate craftsmanship and harmonious relationship with their environment. For centuries, their civilization had flourished, untouched by the turmoil that plagued other worlds. The planet's ecosystems thrived, a testament to the Xylarians' careful stewardship. At the heart of Xylar Prime's largest settlement, Eldrax, High Elder Viril, the oldest and wisest of the Xylarians, stood on the balcony of the Great Hive, overseeing the peaceful activity below. His multifaceted eyes reflected the soft glow of the planet's twin suns, and his antennae twitched in contentment. Life was as it had always been, predictable, safe. But that illusion of safety was about to shatter. In the distance, a sleek vessel descended from the sky, its metal hull gleaming in the sunlight. The Xylarians watched with curiosity as the ship touched down on the outskirts of their settlement. It was not the first time that travelers from distant stars had visited Xylar Prime. The Xylarians welcomed them with open arms, eager to share their culture and learn from the visitors in return. However, this particular vessel carried more than just curious scientists. Unbeknownst to its crew, a stowaway had slipped aboard during a routine supply run on Earth. A creature of fierce independence and relentless determination, one that now found itself in a world unprepared for its arrival. As the ship's hatch opened and the crew began to disembark, the honey badger seized its opportunity. It darted through the grasslands, its nose twitching as it caught the unfamiliar scents of the alien world. Hunger gnawed at its belly, and it moved with purpose, driven by an insatiable need to hunt. Within hours, the first signs of disruption appeared. The peaceful meadows surrounding Eldrax, once alive with the gentle hum of native creatures, became eerily silent. Xylarians who ventured into the fields reported strange occurrences, trails of blood, small animals missing, and an unsettling presence that set their antennae on edge. Elder Viril received the reports with growing concern. Such disturbances were unheard of on Xylar Prime, where the natural order had remained undisturbed for generations. He summoned a council of the brightest minds in Eldrax to investigate, their discussions filled with bewilderment and unease. They could not comprehend what could cause such fear and devastation in their normally tranquil environment. Meanwhile, the honey badger continued its rampage. Its sharp claws and powerful jaws made quick work of the small, defenseless creatures that populated the grasslands. The Xylarians, with their delicate exoskeletons and peaceful nature, were no match for its relentless aggression. Panic spread through the community as the first Xylarians fell victim to the beast, their bodies found torn apart with a ferocity that defied imagination. In desperation, Elder Viril ordered the construction of defensive barriers around Eldrax, a task the Xylarians had never before needed to undertake. Their technology, while advanced in matters of agriculture and art, was not designed for warfare. The Xylarians were builders, not fighters, and their attempts to protect themselves were woefully inadequate against a creature that had evolved in one of the harshest environments in the galaxy. The honey badger, undeterred by the flimsy defenses, breached the barriers with ease. It tore through the settlement, leaving destruction in its wake. The Xylarians tried to fight back, using makeshift weapons and tools, but their efforts only enraged the creature further. It seemed unstoppable, a living embodiment of chaos that thrived on the fear and despair it sowed. Elder Viril, normally calm and composed, felt a deep dread settle within him as reports of the honey badger's rampage flooded in. The creature was unlike anything his people had ever faced, an unstoppable force that defied their understanding of nature. He realized with horror that the Xylarians were on the brink of annihilation. As the night fell over Xylar Prime, the settlement of Eldrax lay in ruins. Fires burned where once there had been vibrant homes, and the air was thick with the acrid smell of destruction. The surviving Xylarians huddled together in what remained of the great hive, their eyes filled with despair. They were a people of peace, but now they faced extinction at the claws of a single, unyielding predator. High Elder Viril looked out over the devastation, his heart heavy with guilt and fear. He had failed to protect his people from a threat they had never anticipated. With a trembling voice, he sent a desperate message to the Galactic Council, pleading for help. The Xylarians were on the verge of being wiped out, and they had no means to stop the creature that was tearing their world apart. The message was clear. Xylar Prime, once a sanctuary of peace, had become a battlefield, and the enemy was an invader from a distant world, a creature so small yet so devastating that it had brought an entire civilization to its knees. As the message was transmitted, the Xylarians could only hope that help would arrive in time. But as the honey badger prowled the remains of Eldrax, its eyes gleaming with primal hunger, it seemed that hope was a luxury they could no longer afford. The once serene planet of Xylar Prime had fallen into the jaws of an unstoppable predator, and its fate hung in the balance. The distress call from Xylar Prime reached the Galactic Council with an urgency that sent shockwaves through its members. The once peaceful world had become a scene of unimaginable devastation, and all because of a single creature. As the details of the attack emerged, the Council convened an emergency session, the weight of their failure pressing heavily on their collective conscience. High Chancellor THRYNN stood at the center of the chamber, his iridescent carapace dimmed with stress. His antennae twitched nervously as the holographic images of Xylar Prime's devastation flickered around him. Scorched fields, shattered dwellings, and the broken bodies of Xylarians who had tried in vain to defend their home. The honey badger, now infamous across the galaxy, had transformed a thriving world into a wasteland. The situation on Xylar Prime is critical, THRYNN began, his voice heavy with sorrow. We have failed to act in time, and the consequences have been dire. We must now decide how to prevent such a tragedy from occurring on any other world. Ambassador Clara Marlowe, who had issued the original warning about the honey badger, was present in the chamber. Her face was etched with guilt, knowing that her message had not been enough to prevent this disaster. Yet she remained resolute, determined to see that the Council took immediate and decisive action. The Xylarians are not a warrior species, Clara said, stepping forward to address the assembly. They were defenseless against a creature that, while small, possesses a tenacity and ferocity to bring an entire planet to its knees. This is a lesson we must not ignore. Earth's ecosystems, while fascinating, contain dangers that other worlds are not prepared to face. Counselor Hedrak, who had once dismissed the honey badger as a mere curiosity, now spoke with a tone of grim understanding. Ambassador Marlowe, what do you suggest we do? Xylar Prime has been ravaged, and we cannot undo the damage. But we must ensure that this never happens again. Clara took a deep breath, her mind racing through the possibilities. The Galactic Council had always been reactive, slow to act unless directly threatened. But this situation demanded more than cautious deliberation. It required bold action. First, she said, her voice firm, we must enact an immediate quarantine on all Earth-native life forms. No species, no matter how benign it may seem, should be allowed to leave the planet without thorough examination and containment protocols. The honey badger slipped through the cracks of our oversight. We cannot allow such a mistake to happen again. The Council members nodded in agreement, the weight of their responsibility clear. But Clara knew that prevention alone was not enough. The damage to Xylar Prime had already been done, and the Xylarians needed more than just promises of safety. Second, she continued, we must provide aid to Xylar Prime. The Xylarians are on the brink of extinction. We must deploy relief efforts immediately. Medical teams, supplies, and, if necessary, defensive forces to ensure the honey badger is contained and eliminated. The Xylarians cannot face this threat alone, and it is our duty to support them in their time of need. The chamber filled with murmurs of assent. Even the most hardened counselors could not deny the urgency of the situation. Xylar Prime had been a beacon of peace in the galaxy, and its downfall was a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of all worlds. Counselor Vrack, the reptilian representative from Circuith, spoke up. We should also consider implementing a new classification system for Earth's creatures, one that takes into account their potential threat to other ecosystems. The honey badger is only one example of what might happen if we are not vigilant. Clara nodded, grateful for the support. Agreed. Earth is unique in its biodiversity, but that diversity comes with risks. We must treat it with the respect and caution it deserves. As the Council began to outline the details of the new measures, High Chancellor THRYNN raised his hand, calling for silence. His multifaceted eyes scanned the room, reflecting the somber mood of the assembly. There is one more matter we must address, THRYNN said slowly, his voice resonating with gravity. The Xylarians have suffered a great loss, and while we can aid in their recovery, we must acknowledge our role in this tragedy. As a council, we must extend an official apology to the Xylarians and offer reparations for the damage done. Clara felt a pang of guilt as THRNN's words echoed through the chamber. The Xylarians' plight had been preventable, and the Council's failure to act swiftly had led to their suffering. An apology, while necessary, felt inadequate in the face of such destruction. Still, it was a start. Acknowledgement of their responsibility was the first step toward ensuring that such a catastrophe would never happen again. The session concluded with a resolution: the quarantine of Earth's life forms, immediate relief for Xylar Prime, and a commitment to learn from this tragedy. The Council dispersed, each member carrying the weight of the decision they had made. As Clara left the chamber, she couldn't shake the image of the honey badger from her mind. It had been a harbinger of chaos, a reminder that the galaxy was vast and unpredictable. Yet, as she looked out at the stars, she knew that the Council had the power to protect those who needed it most. The galaxy had learned a painful lesson, but from it, they could forge a future where such devastation would be averted. The honey badger had left its mark on Xylar Prime, but it had also united the galaxy in a common cause: to safeguard life in all its forms from the dangers that lurked in the unknown.